The first time I really engaged with the Monster Hunter series was with Monster Hunter World on the PS4. Since launch, I have spent over 1,000 hours on the PS4 version. I earned the Platinum Trophy for the base game, and I have beat its final endgame challenge of Fatalis. I also had a great time with Monster Hunter Rise on PC, despite its more arcade-feeling scaled-back world, especially after its expansive DLC Sunbreak fixed most of my issues with the game. So, it will be no surprise to hear that the newest game in the series, Monster Hunter Wilds, was my most anticipated game of this year. The promise of an expanded sequel to World was irresistible. I took time off work to play it, I was just that excited. I expected to enjoy the game and settled in for a protracted Platinum grind. Monster Hunter World's base game, Platinum, took me hundreds of hours of hunts, and I never finished Iceborne's to my shame. To my surprise though, less than a month after its release, I earned Wild's Plat. So let's take a look and see what made this Platinum hunt so much easier, and if the game itself holds up to my lofty expectations. Despite Monster Hunter World being my real entry into the series, my actual first experience was of the original Monster Hunter on a PlayStation 2 demo disc, and I did not enjoy it. It felt clunky, it felt slow, and I made a decision very quickly that the game wasn't for me, so I ignored the series until World. When I played World's open beta test though, it was like a light bulb went off, and not only did I finally get the core gameplay loop, I fell in love with it. There is an incredibly satisfying rhythm to hunting a monster. You start in your base camp, you run to the quest board or to your handler, and decide what mission you're going to go on today. Perhaps you want to fight a Rathian. You check your item pouch, make sure you have enough potions, maybe some traps or bombs. You are fighting a Rathian, so it's best to bring some antidotes too, as they like to poison you. Then you check your gear. Maybe you don't need the antidotes because you have gear or decorations that completely nullify poison, so you put that on instead. Then you go to the canteen and you eat. You watch a cute little scene where cats make you food, and then you are ready. You leave for the hunt, you track down the monster, and you fight them. Eventually you'll win, you carve them up for parts, and you return to base camp. Then you sprint to the smithy and see if you can craft anything new with the parts you just got. A new upgrade for that Rathian weapon, or an armor piece that you were missing. You find something else you want to make, and the process starts again. I love it. Monster Hunter Wilds streamlines parts of this process, and most of these are to the game's benefit. Food buffs will now persist for an extended real-time duration, eliminating the need for pre-hunt meals. Your portable barbecue allows for on-site dining, and Alma, your handler, will accompany you into the field, enabling quest initiation without having to return to base. The Secret's dual weapon loadout facilitates mid-hunt weapon swapping, and these changes collectively minimise your downtime and maximise immersion in the Forbidden Lands. Monsters of each zone come and go on a schedule, as do rare gathering points, so you can plan almost expeditions out into the world. And with one of Wild's multiplayer functions, the Environment Link, this lets you share the same space as your friends, so you can all hunt together. And in fact, the only other time you need to go back to camp is to craft new gear. There has been so much effort put into Wilds just to get you out there and let you explore, and I can see why. The environments that you're in are absolutely incredible, not just graphically, although the game does look great most of the time, but in the way that it feels natural and full of life. Small endemic life scurry around everywhere, following their own cycles. Smaller monsters roam around in packs, oftentimes ganging up on larger ones. I once saw a Rathalos swoop down in the forest to grab a Pyragil, a lizard-like creature, and then fly with it in its claws back to its nest. I followed it all the way there, and it wasn't until the Rathalos finally landed that it began to eat the monster. Monster Hunter World had these moments too, but the level of detail has been ratcheted up so much that I was amazed by so many little things that I saw. One of Wild's biggest changes is that each region has 3 seasons, a fallow, inclement, and plenty season that they will rotate dynamically between. Although these seasons don't change the map layouts too much, the look of them, and often new environmental hazards or changes, will appear. The Windward Plains, the first area that you explore, includes a large desert that leads into an arid plain area when you first get there. Later on though, the area is blanketed by an incredible looking lightning storm that constantly strikes the desert area, blasting the sand into fulgurite. and it feels like such a spectacle to have lightning striking all around you as you tussle with a giant monster. Unsurprisingly, the monsters of the Forbidden Lands are the real stars of the show. One of my biggest issues with Monster Hunter World's base game is that 90% of the monster roster was just big dinosaurs, but Worlds absolutely smashes their roster, with a diverse range of creatures ranging from monkeys to octopi, and although its starting roster is slightly smaller than World, almost every single one is a great design, so great in fact that I struggle to decide which is my favourite. There are some issues with the game graphically though. I usually prefer to play games prioritizing frame rate, as a smoother experience is more important to me than super detailed graphics. So naturally, when I started Wilds, I picked the option to reflect that. This was a mistake, as the game looked awful, textures were blurry, details were lost even when I was really close to walls and other geometry, and I only managed to last 2 hunts before I popped the graphics down to balanced mode. This one aims for 40 frames per second, but it's a much more detailed graphical setting, and although it took me a bit of getting used to, 40 frames per second is good enough, and the game looked so much better for it. So much so that I would recommend this option straight away to anyone on the base PS5. One other small issue I have is that I kind of wish there was an option to declutter some of the messages that you see on the right hand side of your screen as you are exploring. Some of them will provide important information, like a new tempered monster has turned up and what rewards you'll get for hunting it, but other messages like the Congalala being paralysed for the 3rd time or there being an outbreak of pure wasps is often just distracting at best and annoying at worst when you can't open the map while one of these messages is showing. The overall point of a Monster Hunter game is to hunt monsters, and this is another area that Wilds absolutely delivers on. When you start the game, you are given the choice of 14 weapons, of which you can carry 2 with you. I haven't used all of them, but I have tried a fair few, and while they're all very different in their playstyles, they are all fun to play around with. Some weapons focus on proactive use, predicting a monster's attacks to avoid and strike back when there are openings, while others are more reactive, relying on dodges and counters to get the best use of them. I am a filthy longsword main, but I also love the hunting horn and the charge blade, and even fighting the same monster feels completely different when you use different weapons. Combat with these beasts always feels fluid and frenetic, chasing a monster around as they charge through you or frantically dodge rolling away from an attack that you're just a little bit too close to. Learning the combat patterns of monsters is key to coming out of them unscathed, and it's this moment-to-moment struggles that keep me coming back, even more than the draw of crafting a new hat. One of the biggest changes to the game is the new focus system, which lets you aim your strikes more carefully, which in itself is a game changer, as it means you are less likely to whiff your bigger strikes. Although, I admittedly still manage to do this more often than I should. The main use for this though is exploiting the wounds that you create on the monster by repeatedly attacking the same area. When one of these wounds appears on a monster, the area that it appears on becomes softer, and hitting it again will deal more damage, which is great. But what you can also do is use what's called a focus strike on the wound, temporarily staggering the monster, doing a nice bit of damage to it, and often give you a nice buff or a big attack. With the longsword, for example, it automatically increases your focus bar by 1 level, and with the charge blade it turns your big axe into a spinning death machine for 1 minute. With the dual blades, you turn into a Beyblade and rip across the monster's back, doing huge amounts of damage. It's so much fun to create and strategically use these wounds to keep your damage up, and it adds so much to the flow of combat, keeping it fresh and engaging. As fun as this sounds though, this description comes with a small caveat, and that is, at least for me, it only started to feel like this when I reached high rank. There is a pretty defined demarcation between hunt difficulty in the games, with low rank being your slow introduction to the game, almost like a prolonged tutorial, and then high rank being the more challenging but rewarding part of the game where you spend most of your time. I have an advantage in that I've played a ton of Monster Hunter, and most of the skills are transferable between games. Sure, some weapons have been given new or changed capabilities, and even returning monsters have had their attacks remixed or their behaviours tuned differently, but there is a level of experience that definitely helps to make things easier. And I did have this issue in Monster Hunter Rise too, but I feel like in an effort to make the early game a bit more approachable, Capcom may have tuned the early difficulty down a little bit too far. I waltzed through low rank, barely remembering to eat and only having to restock my potions every 4 or 5 hunts, and my first faint wasn't until the last boss of the low rank story. I get that this experience will vary between people, and maybe it's for the best that it is this way, but for me, my enjoyment of Monster Hunter Worlds rocketed up once I'd actually finished the main story. That isn't to say that everything is perfect in the endgame either. Even here, hunts are over faster than I expect, especially when you can abuse the wounds on monsters to stagger them out of their biggest attacks and stun lock them for short periods of time of free damage. I also have this sense that something has been taken away from the game by the amount of things that they've cut back and streamlined. It's hard to put my finger on exactly why. Maybe it's a lack of unlockable extras like mantles or arena challenges. Maybe I miss the hunting log leveling up the more you fight the same monster, learning about their weaknesses, or actually having to track the monster instead of knowing where they are all the time. Or maybe I just miss cats cooking for me. It's not even like a lot of the main complexity of the game is gone. There's still an insane amount of build variety, with each monster having alpha and beta armor sets for you to mix and match with, hundreds of decorations for you to craft and hunt to fine-tune your sets, and an interesting in-game weapon crafting system that actually feels good to farm to get the perfect weapon. And I am still playing the game even after getting the platinum, which is unusual for me, so even with these small issues, the gameplay is still engaging and exciting. On a positive note though, for all the streamlining the game has done, getting into the hunts is quicker and easier than ever, with you able to start hunts from your map, from your tent, from Alma, or just by hitting a monster a lot of times. And I love this. It feels so easy to jump from one hunt to another without needing to take any breaks, and it reminds me of Iceborne's endgame area, the Guiding Lands, in all the best ways. Although the low rank experience of the Monster Hunter games have always been a bit of a tutorial, this is the first time that the games have been accompanied with an actually interesting story that is worth following. After rescuing a young boy lost in the wilderness, you are tasked with finding his home while you explore the Forbidden Lands of the East. Here, you find and interact with various different tribes, learning about their way of life and how they survive in this world full of quickly changing seasons and dangerous monsters. While helping Nata, you trek through various exciting locales and fight cool monsters, which should be great, but the story had this annoying habit of getting in its own way. Too many hunts started with 5 minutes of slowly walking around on your secrets, listening to Alma or Nata talk, before you could actually play the game. I love narrative games usually, but the story didn't get interesting until the very last area of the game, so for the first 10 hours or so, every cutscene felt like we were just meandering until the monster showed up. The lack of engagement in the story didn't stop me from liking some of the characters though, and it was nice how much personality they all had. And the endgame reveals have some really interesting story hooks in them that I really hope get expanded on in the future. There's a world out there where Monster Hunter has a killer story and also keeps its focus on hunting the monsters, and I'd love to get to that game.
Hunter, in order to rescue the Linian and secure the surrounding area, the guild authorizes you to hunt that Nerscylla.
I'm on it.
The biggest surprise of all for me in Monster Hunter Wilds though was how much easier its trophy list was to complete when compared to its predecessors. I didn't expect it to be this way because so many of the trophies were similar to what I had earned in Monster Hunter World. The biggest bugbear of all of Monster Hunter trophy lists has been crown hunting. Whenever you fight a monster, there is a chance that it will be much bigger or much smaller than the average size for that species. And if you defeat the monster, you can earn a gold crown in your hunting log. In Monster Hunter World, this involved literally measuring the monster, usually by setting a shock trap, then standing by its leg or something and comparing it to your hunter. This was inaccurate and tedious, and I think I spent probably hundreds of hours of my playtime just doing this. And it was so frustrating thinking you had finally found a crown, killing the monster, and it not actually being big enough, so you have to start again, especially with the limited number of investigations you had. Wilds makes this process infinitely easier now, as you can now measure the monsters accurately with a pair of binoculars. When using the binoculars, you will see immediately if the monster will give you a crown or not, and now you don't have to waste so much time hunting unnecessarily. You can also save the monster you find as an investigation, and it will keep the size, so you can share it with other people. This was an absolute godsend for me and my hunting friends, and although it is still the longest part of earning the platinum in Wilds, it's a breeze compared to how it used to be, especially if you can find a Discord or hunting group online that has saved the investigations already. To get the trophies, you will need to get a large gold crown and a small gold crown for almost every monster in your field guide. There are a few exceptions to this, as some monsters are set sizes, like Jinder Hard, who will never give you any kind of crown. Even with this out of the way though, there is still some grinding to do. You will need to reach Hunter rank 100 for the trophy Established Hunter. This will come almost definitely as you work on all the other trophies though, but you will still need to do a lot of hunts to reach that level. While working towards this, remember to mix up how many hunts you do online and how many you do by yourself. You will need to complete 100 quests with your Palico deployed for Someone Worth Following, and your Palico will only hunt with you when you're by yourself or with one other person. If you join an SOS or multiplayer hunt with more than that, your Palico will head back to camp. But you will also need to do 100 hunts with other players for the trophy Hunters United Forever. While you're messing around online anyway, you should also knock out the trophy Gossip Hunter for viewing 30 different hunter profiles. You can do this in the lobby menu just by looking through the list of hunters and checking out their profiles. You can also choose to follow someone, which will earn you the trophy Newly Forged Bonds, although I genuinely don't know what following people does other than get you this trophy. As expected, the bulk of the other trophies will come from hunting different monsters. You will need to capture 50 monsters, hunt over 100 monsters in total, hunt at least 50 Apex monsters, which are the big zone bosses like Raidal, and hunt 50 Tempered monsters, which are special late game versions of the monsters that are much tougher than usual, but offer increased rewards. There are also some context specific trophies like Hunter Assassin for launching a successful sneak attack. This can be done pretty easily by using a ghillie mantle and walking up behind a monster. You'll see a prompt appear to do the sneak attack. Easy. You will also need to do the focus mode to attack weak points over 50 times for Hit 'em Where It Hurts. Most of these trophies will come naturally, but there are some specific odd ones that you need to be aware of. Firstly, there are 3 special endemic life that you will need to catch. For I Caught a Shooting Star, you will need to travel to the oasis in the plains at night. Rarely you will see a little blue mouse thing running around. You need to use your capture net to get this, but it moves fast, so try using a screamer pod to stun it first. In the forest, you will also find a little golden crab near Area 6, and catching this will give you a Wyverian coin and the trophy A Prize Held High. The last of the rare endemic life isn't really that rare, but it is a giant squid that can be caught in the ocean area of the forest zone. These only spawn at night, but to catch them you need to have a specific bait. To earn this bait, called the Tentacle Jig, you will need to complete the first 3 steps of the Fishing Woman's quest, who is at the back of the forest base camp. She tasks you with fishing some specific fish for her, and then will give you the bait for catching the big fish, which are called whoppers. With the Tentacle Jig in hand, go to the ocean at night and look for the bright jellyfish. Complete the fishing minigame and Monster Squid Hunter will be yours. You will also need to catch 30 whoppers in total for another trophy, so I hope you enjoy fishing. And completing the Fisherwoman's side missions will also help you with East to West, A Hunter Never Rests, for completing 30 different side missions. The last trophy of note is for finding 10 different rank 6 rarity items. These are special gathering items that only appear in certain conditions. When you look at your map to see what monsters are there, you will sometimes see a message like Remarkable Relic Upsurge above the list of monsters. Go into this zone and check the gathering filters and they will show you where the special item is and you can go and get it. There are 10 of these, and most of these come from looking for these relevant messages, but some are a little rarer, like the Nightflower Pollen that only spawns on a full moon in the plains, or the Wyvern Sprout that occasionally sprouts from small monster corpses when they start to decay. Once you've collected 10 different ones, the trophy Explorer of the Eastlands will be yours. These all might still sound pretty grindy, and they are. It still took me around 130 hours to get all the trophies, and that was with friends helping me crown hunt. But, compared to the older games, this felt like such a chill time. And once you have all the trophies, the Platinum Eastward Wings will be yours. I had such incredibly high expectations for Monster Hunter Wilds before it released, and it's amazing that the game has managed to meet almost all of them. Yes, I have some issues with the story feeling a bit railroady and not that interesting, and yes, I feel like the game's a little easier because of how many tools the hunter has when compared to the monsters, And yes, I do feel like the game has lost a little bit of its identity by streamlining so much of its gameplay. Despite all of this though, I am still having fun with it and I am still playing it. There will be title updates soon with new monsters that I am so hyped for, and probably a bunch of other additions that will address some of my misgivings. And when it's just you and your friends fighting a big angry chicken dinosaur, all of these small problems fade away and all that's left is the joy of the hunt. And that's more than enough for me. This game is amazing. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at Monster Hunter Wilds and its Platinum Trophy. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed the video, and let me know in the comments below if you're playing and how your Plat hunt is going. And until next time, happy hunting.